Shadow Warrior 3 was announced the other week, and I've already briefly talked about it in my playthrough of Devolver Land Expo. I am hyped as fuck for this game. I love the original Shadow Warrior. It's one of my favorite 90s FPS games. That said, the 2013 reboot and 2016 sequel definitely have some issues that were made more apparent with the release of Doom 2016 and now Doom Eternal. So here is what I hope to see from Shadow Warrior 3 and what it can learn from Doom Eternal. So first, let's talk about my issues with Shadow Warrior 2013 and Shadow Warrior 2. Shadow Warrior 2013 did a lot right, in my opinion. The humor, the tone, the speed, and the exploration, etc. of classic Shadow Warrior are all here and accounted for, but it still had some glaring issues. One issue I had was the fact that dash feels underpowered, especially now compared to Doom Eternal. Dashing is your primary form of dodging enemy attacks in Shadow Warrior, and I feel like I still got damaged a lot even when I was trying to dash away. I hope Shadow Warrior 3 makes the dash a little more defined, and it makes it a better way of dodging attack. The second big issue I had was that the combat was too sword focused. I found myself running out of ammo constantly and needing to return to using the sword for every encounter. Now, the sword was cool, and once upgraded to have different moves, it's definitely a formidable weapon, but the sword wasn't that prominent in the original game, and Shadow Warrior is a first-person shooter franchise. The guns just all felt underpowered and underutilized in preference of pushing sword-focused combat. This brings up another issue I had with combat. It's impossible to fully upgrade yourself in one run-through. You have to pick and choose which upgrades you get. It really prevents Shadow Warrior from becoming the ultimate power fantasy by the end of the game like Doom allows, because you really aren't fully maxed out. Shadow Warrior never allows the mechanics to fully shine through because of this. I'd love Shadow Warrior 3 to allow me to fully max out my guns, my health, and my abilities by the end of the game to fully allow the mechanics to open up and allow us to be the best badass that we can be, just like how Doom Eternal lets us. The last major issue I had with Shadow Warrior 2013 was how bullet spongy enemies were. Every major enemy was just a tank that soaked up damage and refused to die. There really wasn't a strategy to beating them. You just had to keep shooting until you ran out of ammo, running away to heal, and then finishing them off with your sword once you were out of ammo. It's so tedious and honestly not very fun, especially when fighting berserkers. Instead of getting hyped up to take on big enemy encounters, by the end of the game I just felt burnt out and wanted them to end. The tankiness is especially bad on bosses, which don't really have creative attack patterns to learn, and kind of just come down to dancing around an arena until they die. They take for fucking ever, and again, aren't very fun to fight. Now, Shadow Warrior 2013's strength is in its surprisingly good story. It has a well-crafted world, Lo Wang has some funny quips, and I found myself actually caring about the story, and feeling connected to Lo Wang and Hoji, and I honestly felt a bit sad about the ending. I was surprised it had as good of a story as it does, considering that it wasn't exactly a strong suit of the original game. Shadow Warrior 2 made some combat improvements, but still suffers from the bullet spongy enemies, and also brought some new issues like a weaker story, a semi-open world, a RPG-esque level-up system, and Borderlands-style looter-shooter gameplay. Now, I really like Borderlands, but I don't want that in Shadow Warrior. Thankfully, it looks like Shadow Warrior 3 is going back to its linear storytelling roots and ditching the RPG-light looter-shooter elements of 2. So what do I hope to see in Shadow Warrior 3, and what can it learn from Doom Eternal? Well, going off what I already said, gun combat needs to be at the forefront of gameplay. Quick swapping a la Doom Eternal would be nice, giving players access to combos, bringing the sword in for finishers here and there, increase ammo laying around so we aren't constantly running out, or give us a way to replenish our ammo on our own like the chainsaw in Eternal. This will make combat feel less tedious and also less restricting and less sword focused. Removing the bullet spongy enemy design will also be a big improvement as well. I like challenging games. I like challenging shooters. But I like challenging shooters that test my skill, not my patience. Doom Eternal has some tough enemies that you could consider tanky. The Marauder, the Baron, the Doom Hunter, the Cyber Mancubus, the Archvile, and the Cyber Demon. basically any super heavy enemy in the game. But all of these enemies can be eliminated quickly through skilled use of weapon swapping, grenades, and targeting of weak points. I never felt like any fight dragged while I was playing Doom Eternal. Every enemy feels fair and fun to fight, and overcoming their attacks is what makes Doom Eternal so fun. Doom Eternal gives players the means to overcome tougher enemies in creative ways. Some people are able to kill super heavies in a matter of seconds. I don't feel like Shadow Warrior 2013 offered the same thing, in which fights with tougher enemies usually just resulted in spamming attacks and running around to heal. And as for balancing for harder difficulties, I don't think that making enemies more spongy is the way to do it. But taking the Doom Eternal approach, where on harder difficulties AI becomes more aggressive and does more damage, is the way to do it. It's a philosophy change that gives players the control and lets their skills shine through. The push-forward combat strategy of Doom Eternal discourages you from running away, and encourages you to learn new strategies to kill opponents. I think Shadow Warrior 3 can take a lot away from Doom Eternal's push-forward combat philosophy and enemy design to provide a more fun and creative yet still challenging and skill-based experience. Now, looking at the gameplay teaser that IGN put out, it looks like both of these things have been addressed. The game looks more gun-focused. It looks like guns can be swapped much quicker, allowing for some combos. Difficult enemies look less spongy, even giving situational items, and can be killed off with glory kills. Additionally, Shadow Warrior seems to be taking notes from Doom Eternal in that enemy flesh can be chipped off, and it looks like there might even be weak points that you can use to your advantage. This could be seen here, where Lo Wang shoots away at this enemy's arm, eventually breaking it and then using it for a glory kill. There also looks like there are environmental kills, which is awesome and will provide players with more tools of destruction, and honestly feels like a nice throwback to the level interaction that the build engine was known for, which the original Shadow Warrior was built on. Just looking at this teaser, combat looks amazing, and it looks like they improved on it in every way, and I am really excited for it. I would also like to see some of Doom Eternal's advanced mobility be adapted to Shadow Warrior. It's so fun to dash around, swing on horizontal bars, and use the environment to slay enemies in Doom Eternal. Shadow Warrior, being another fast-paced, old-school FPS, could really benefit from similar mobility. I'd love to see increased base mobility speed with a removal of sprint, but also see the dash return and be more defined to truly be a way to avoid enemy attacks. From what I have seen in the gameplay trailers, it looks like this is vastly improved as well. Dash does look more defined, there's wall running and climbing that doesn't lock you into an animation, so you can still shoot and fight while running on walls, which is great, and I cannot wait to see what kind of combat encounters they throw at us while running on walls. Shadow Warrior 3 also features a grappling hook, which looks like it works a bit differently from that in Doom Eternal. You can use it to pull yourself towards enemies, but you can also use it to pull enemies towards you, pull parts of the environment, and even swing on things. It looks so fun to use, and looks like it gives some skillful mobility to the game, which should result in some intense and badass fight sequences. The only other thing that I want to see in Shadow Warrior 3, and these are things which I already think the other games in the series are doing quite well, is the embracing of the original games. I love the Easter eggs in Doom Eternal and references to the past games. I'd love to see more Easter eggs and references to Shadow Warrior and even other shooters in Shadow Warrior 3, which again is something I already think 2013 and 2 were already doing. Additionally, more humor from Lo Wang. It's lowbrow, but I legitimately think Lo Wang is funny, and I laughed quite a bit while playing 2013, hearing the banter between Wang and Hoji. Duke Nukem is dead, so we need Wang more than ever to provide us with some snarky, badass one-liners. One last thing I want to see is the anime Sauna Girls. It's the most important part of the series, and their inclusion is a must. Needless to say, I am absolutely hyped for Shadow Warrior 3. It looks incredible, and I cannot wait to play it. I think that Flying Wild Hogs have really improved upon their formula, and that they're improving on the complaints that I had with the first two games in their franchise. So what do you all think? Are you as hyped for Shadow Warrior 3 as I am? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Later.
Fuck! Fuck off!